If you have ever opened an app late at night and felt safer because other people were there with you, you already understand why platforms like TikTok feel harmless. It is not just entertainment, it is a system. A familiar interface built to capture moments, flatten context, and move information faster than any one person can follow it. Most people trust that system. You record, you upload, you watch the numbers climb, you read the comments, and most of the time, that is all it is. A short video, a passing reaction, a moment that dissolves the second you scroll away. Because the phone is familiar, the language is casual, the format is clean, it makes real life feel manageable. But documentation is not protection. A post is not a witness. A comment is not help. And going viral is not the same thing as being safe. TikTok does not verify intent. It does not recognize danger. It only recognizes engagement. And when something disturbing happens, the system does not stop it. It amplifies it. Most people explain these stories away. Coincidence, misunderstanding, exaggeration, a story told for attention. Small doubts we cling to, because the alternative is admitting that something real slipped through a system we use every day without thinking. But some posts do not behave like stories. They behave like evidence. A video uploaded in panic. A clip that ends too early. A creator who explains what happened and then stops responding entirely. Not with theatrics, not with spectacle, quietly. In ways that still look like content, still sit inside the feed, still pass through moderation without setting off alarms. Because the most unsettling failures are the ones that look normal, approved, shared, saved. Tonight's stories are not about ghosts, curses, or internet myths. They are about real incidents that began as TikTok posts and escalated into situations the platform was never designed to handle. Cases where visibility did not prevent harm, where attention arrived too late, and where the system kept moving long after the people involved needed it to stop. These are two true stories, not because the internet agreed they were real, but because the consequences did not disappear when the videos did. Story 1. The Perth Airbnb Discovery. In the world of short-term rentals, there is an implicit promise. A home away from home. A private space for strangers to inhabit temporarily. The walls have no names. The beds have no memories. The place exists for a moment in time, a brief intersection of lives on the road, under rented roofs where keys change hands every few days. That promise begins with an image, a listing photo, a sparkling interior, and a host's assurances of comfort. It ends with a check-in and a door that locks behind you. It ends, too, with the assumption that the space is yours and yours alone, but assumption is only as strong as the system that supports it. For one family from Perth, Australia, that system revealed a vulnerability most people rarely contemplate until it's too late. They had arrived in the city during school holidays, a family of 5 with luggage stacked in the hall, the sun dipping behind the skyline as they stepped into what they expected to be a carefree vacation rental. Their kids ran ahead, voices echoing against walls that were supposed to feel safe. The adults leaned over the glossy photos on the listing one last time. Open plan, bright living room, plenty of room to spread out. That's what they had booked. Space, comfort, normalcy. They did not book surveillance. When the front door clicked shut behind them, the quiet inside the apartment was immediate. A door closing in an unfamiliar place carries a different kind of weight. It signals transition, yes, but also ownership, however temporary. Their holiday had begun. Nothing was supposed to happen next, and yet something was already happening. The moment they began unpacking, something caught the eye of one of the adults. A small device sitting against a wall, unremarkable at first, like a decorative object misplaced. But the closer they approached, the clearer it became. Blinking faintly toward them was a small red light, and beneath that light, a lens pointed outward, not into a street, not into a hallway, but into the very room they would occupy, record themselves chatting, eating dinner, watching television with their children playing on the carpet. It was a camera, a real camera, the kind of device designed to record motion, faces, voices, the ordinary details of private life. The family's instinct was immediate. This was wrong. It was invasive. And it was meant to be private. Someone raised the phone and began filming. Not to sensationalize the moment, but to document it. To ask the question everyone in that room was suddenly asking at once. Is this allowed? They did not whisper in fear. They spoke into the camera in that familiar, casual tone that millions of creators use every day. So, we got to our Airbnb last night, the voice said, steady but unsettled. It's a nice place. There's one thing I'm not sure about. Maybe you can help me out. Then the camera panned, slowly, deliberately, to the device on the shelf. A full-size video camera, its lens facing into the living area. A red light pulsed, as if to remind whoever was watching that it was recording. Is that allowed in Airbnbs? The TikToker asked, eyes flicking between the lens and the living space. Is that standard practice? Because I don't reckon it should be allowed. Even with just a few words, the tone struck a nerve. The expectation of privacy had been violated. What should have been a protected, private interior space now felt like an exhibit, observed and possibly archived. This TikTok account did not have a huge following, roughly 600 followers at the time, but its reach was about to stretch far beyond its usual limits. The first clip was simple, matter of fact, a prompt for viewers to weigh in. That prompt ignited something bigger. The comments poured in. Some were sympathetic, many were outraged. A comment tagged Airbnb. Another urged local authorities to get involved. People shared their own rental horror experiences. The post spread, and as it did, the pressure on the platform mounted. On its own, a TikTok video might be fleeting, scrolling past in seconds, destined to be buried under the next trend. But once it becomes someone's evidence, lodged in the public record and attached to a real concern, it behaves differently. It invites scrutiny. It demands accountability. For the family, the next move was not a debate. It was safety. The adults gathered their children and packed what they could, bringing down bags from shelves and closets, closing suitcases with a nervous speed that comes when boundaries are suddenly uncertain. They made the decision no one wants to make on vacation. They left. The rented home that morning was empty except for the camera and their departing footsteps. Behind them, the lens continued to sit on the shelf, recording emptiness as if it had no context at all. The family booked a hotel for the night, a temporary refuge, chosen with anxiety instead of comfort in mind. The children were quiet in the back seat of the car, uncertain why the holiday felt suddenly heavy, why the excitement of arrival had been replaced with the weight of being watched. Their next step was to contact Airbnb. They explained what they had found. At first, the platform responded as though it understood the concern. Customer service offered to reimburse their hotel stay and find alternative accommodation at no extra cost. But that support faltered once the reality of replacing their booking, especially during a busy school holiday period, became expensive. Communication slowed. Replies came less frequently. The system that was designed to protect users suddenly felt bureaucratic and slow. And so, they turned again to the public. They posted follow-up videos, the camera now showing both their faces and the lingering memory of what they had discovered. They asked viewers to tag Airbnb, to bring attention to their concern, to make sure this wasn't dismissed as a misunderstanding or an anomaly. That strategy worked. Once the video attracted broader attention, the Airbnb response escalated. According to company policy, security cameras or recording devices monitoring indoor spaces are not permitted in listings, a rule Airbnb itself has published and reiterated in response to this incident. Suddenly, the same platform support that had gone quiet was urgently revisiting their case. The company provided a full refund, covered the costs of the hotel stay and related expenses, and even offered a coupon toward another comparable rental property. In the face of public visibility, the system reacted, not because of policy alone, but because the system was watching the system. Airbnb spokespersons reiterated that indoor cameras are prohibited even if they are not hidden, and that there are safety teams and 24-hour support lines available for users in unsafe situations. But consider the deeper implication. It took public exposure, not internal enforcement, for the family's concern to be resolved. The camera was in plain sight, blinking with its own mechanical heartbeat. Yet the first response was procedural confusion, not immediate protection. The horror in that is not just the presence of the camera. It is the realization that even systems designed to safeguard privacy can fail when left to their normal workflows. The camera violated the policy. The system allowed it to be there. The resolution came only after the system itself was watched by millions. That is the kind of horror that doesn't need shadows on the wall. It needs only one blinking light, and the promise of privacy shattered in an instant. Story 2. After the upload. There is a particular kind of vulnerability that comes with being visible. Not the kind people imagine when they talk about fame or attention, but the quieter exposure that happens when a person moves through public space while also being part of a system that records, shares, and remembers everything. In cities like New York, visibility is constant. Streets are crowded. Cameras are everywhere. Phones are raised reflexively. The assumption is that danger is diffused by proximity, that being surrounded by others creates a kind of passive protection. But visibility does not prevent violence, and documentation does not stop it from happening again. In March of 2024, a TikTok creator named Hallie Kate experienced that reality in the most abrupt way possible. She was walking alone in New York City, moving through the city the way millions of people do every day, following familiar routes, trusting the rhythm of sidewalks and crosswalks and streetlights. There was nothing extraordinary about the moment before it happened. No confrontation, no argument, no warning. According to police reports and her own testimony, a stranger approached her on the street and punched her in the face without provocation. The strike was sudden and forceful. It left a visible injury almost immediately, a swelling on her forehead that would later become unmistakable in the video she posted. The attacker did not engage further. He did not demand anything. He did not stay. The violence was brief, disorienting, and over before anyone nearby could intervene. What followed was not silence. What followed was documentation. Within a short time of the assault, Hallie Kate opened her phone and recorded a TikTok video. In the clip, she described what had just happened. Her voice was shaken but controlled. Her expression reflected shock more than panic. The injury was already visible, a physical marker of an event that had no narrative buildup and no immediate resolution. The video spread quickly. Viewers reacted with disbelief, anger, and fear. Comments filled with questions. How could this happen in public? Why did no one stop it? Was this random? Was this targeted? The platform responded the way it always does to emotionally charged content. It amplified it. The video reached people far beyond her immediate audience. It entered the broader conversation about safety in public spaces, about violence against women, about the unpredictability of urban environments. But the system that amplified the story did not resolve it. That responsibility fell to another system entirely. The New York Police Department confirmed that an arrest was later made. A man named Skiboki Stora was taken into custody and charged with assault and aggravated harassment. The charges indicated a serious acknowledgement of the harm done, but they did not provide immediate closure. The legal process moved forward slowly. As the case progressed, Hallie Kate's initial TikTok post took on a different role. It was no longer just a viral video. It became part of the public record surrounding a real criminal case. News outlets referenced it. Viewers revisited it. It remained available, circulating long after the physical injury began to heal. In early February of 2026, nearly 2 years after the assault, Hallie Kate testified in New York Supreme Court. By that point, the story had evolved from a moment of shock captured on a phone to a prolonged legal ordeal. Testifying required revisiting the event in a formal setting, under scrutiny, while the person accused of the assault pleaded not guilty to all charges. Court proceedings revealed additional unsettling details. During the trial, the defense attempted to introduce lines of questioning that focused not on the assault itself, but on internet culture, TikTok trends, and unrelated conspiratorial narratives. These attempts were objected to and shut down, but their presence underscored a disturbing reality. The system was searching for ways to redirect blame. Rather than focusing solely on the act of violence, there was an effort to frame the incident within a broader and irrelevant digital context, as if participation in online platforms somehow complicated the reality of being attacked in public. That redirection failed in court. but it lingered as a reminder of how easily responsibility can be diluted when violence intersects with visibility. For Hallie Kate, the consequences of the assault did not end with the arrest. According to her testimony, the incident had lasting physical and emotional effects. The memory of the attack did not fade simply because time passed or because the legal process moved forward. Public attention did not translate into safety or resolution. If anything, it extended the lifespan of the event. The original TikTok video remained accessible. New viewers continued to discover it. Each view represented someone encountering her trauma out of sequence, without context, without resolution. This is the quiet horror of documentation in the digital age. A moment of violence can be replayed indefinitely, detached from its aftermath, consumed as content, even as the real consequences continue off-screen. The platform did not cause the assault, but it did not protect her either. TikTok does not assess risk. It does not intervene in real time. It does not slow the spread of violence once it has occurred. Its only function is distribution. In this case, that distribution turned a private act of harm into a public artifact. The system rewarded the visibility of the injury, not the prevention of the act. As the case continued through the court system, Hallie Kate's story became emblematic of a broader tension in modern life. The expectation that recording something makes it safer. The belief that sharing an experience creates accountability. But accountability belongs to institutions, not algorithms. And institutions move slowly. The assault was real. The injury was real. The court case was real. What remains unresolved is the sense of safety that was never restored. For many viewers, the TikTok video ended with empathy and outrage before the algorithm moved on. For Hallie Kate, the video marked the beginning of a prolonged confrontation with a system that could broadcast her experience to millions, but could not shield her from its consequences. That is the disturbing truth behind this story. Not that violence happened in public, not that it was recorded, but that the system designed to connect people offered no barrier between exposure and harm. Visibility did not prevent the attack, and going viral did not make the world safer afterward. You have reached the end of tonight's stories. The moment where the phone is lowered, the screen goes dark, and the world is supposed to return to normal. Quiet, uneventful, unremarkable. But these stories were never about TikTok. They were about what happens when danger intersects with systems that were never designed to protect anyone. A family found a camera in a place that promised privacy, and the only thing that made the system respond was visibility. A woman was attacked in public, and the video of her injury traveled faster than safety ever could. Because documentation is not protection, a post is not a witness, and going viral is not the same thing as being safe. Subscribe if you want to continue examining the systems beneath ordinary life, the interfaces we trust without question, the routines that turn danger into procedure, and the moments where technology does not create the horror, but notices it. Let me know in the comments which story stayed with you the longest. The camera that should never have been there, or the moment a normal street became dangerous without warning. Like the video so these stories reach others who still believe danger always announces itself with noise, with chaos, with something unmistakable, and not with a calm interface that looks like it is functioning exactly as intended. And if you have your own experience, a place that felt wrong only after you stood still, a moment that only made sense too late, or a situation where a tool seemed to know something before you did, you are always welcome to share it. Thank you for listening. And until next time, stay aware, trust your instincts, and remember, the dark does not need to speak to be listening. And remember, the dark awaits.